My name is Jim Rector, and I am the investment director for Ethos IRR.
Hi, I'm Mike Reyna. I'm the managing member for Ethos IRR.
And I'm Troy Van Brunt. I'm the asset and portfolio manager for Ethos IRR.
All right, well, this is our first one of these that we've done. I think we look forward to doing some more. I think the three of us may or may not all be here at one time together. We may have some other people from the community come in and have conversations with them, maybe from the banking side, the development side, even architectural and those type of folks that are in the design business. I think we would benefit, and I think the community at large would benefit from that as well. So thank you for taking the time to do this. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. I am Jim Rector. We're talking today about Ethos IRR. And this episode is going to focus on private equity, real estate fund, and how we want to return strong returns through opportunistic transactions. Now, what does that mean? I mean, what does that really mean? I mean, if we talk about the mission statement, and the mission statement I read says, our mission is to be a beacon of integrity and excellence in the private equity real estate sector, guided by the principles of investors first, real estate driven, integrity always. How and why and what?
Right.
Tell me about that.
I think, over the last 35 years of being in real estate and growing up as a real estate appraiser, and then getting into the real estate brokerage, leasing, and then development phase, you kind of experience all the different genres of real estate. And one of the big things, how kind of have it structured as saying it's about investor first, because you see a lot of things and you go, whoa, that's, you always want to know on the other end how it feels. And so the first thing that comes out in our mission statement is investor first. It's always about that. Mm-hmm. We're second. It's always about them. We don't want to charge a lot of fees. We just obviously want to be fair and equitable. And so we want to be transparent. We don't want any questions. We're partnering with them. They're our partners. And so if I'm partnering with you on a deal, you want to know exactly what's going on. I don't want to be in the closet. Don't want to do it. The good, bad, and ugly, obviously. So if there's an issue, if something happens, we're going to say, this is what's going on. This is our result. This is what we're going to do. I'm kind of the guy that likes to know here's a problem. We attack it. Give me some solutions. And then let's all get together and fix it. So on the investor side, it's all about that transparency. If there's issues, we talk about that. The next thing, kind of in the mission statement, you break it down, is adjusted risk.
Yeah, I am
risk averse. I've been through a lot of real estate cycles, and so as you have too.
I have,
and you have, and so it's the experience and the gray hair and all the wrinkles on the face and all the things in here going, I remember when and remember this. And so, sometimes it's a little bit of analysis paralysis, I call, because he's the analyst. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, get you out of the cloud of the numbers. And it's kind of about, what's the flow of real estate. But adjusted risk to me means that we look at a piece of real estate or an asset portfolio and say, okay, what's the upside, what's the downside? But really look at the adjusted risk. Is it, we have some great tenants in here, okay, or they're going to be okay. We have some not so great tenants in this building portfolio. And so you mitigate what's this going to be if that goes bad or these tenants go bankrupt. So you look at all the factors of real estate. Again, going back to my growing up as a real estate appraiser, location, highest and best use. What's the best use for that property? Is it interim use? Do we put some money into it to make some value add? All those things come into play into real estate. So it's not about just, buying a deal, trying to fix it up, and then selling it. It's about really holistically looking at the whole thing. And that's what we kind of bring to the table as far as, appraiser, analysts, valuation, big picture, construction management, all the stuff that you've done, some big projects. And so together, that's kind of what we look at. What's the adjusted risk for our partners, our investors, and making sure that us three guys and our whole other team is looking at that. Okay. If I'm putting my money out, I want to make sure that my money's good.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Are you an investor in this fund as well?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So the three of us obviously are
Yeah.
investors in the fund. And so that, when you talk about partnerships, I mean, it's literally more than just on paper. I mean, we're literally partners together in every one of these deals.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So as we go, they go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I appreciate the adjusted risk and going on, one of the things I talk about and I want to talk about, and I think it's easy to kind of miss, is we're looking at return of equity and then return on equity. Can you kind of explain what that is and why you're thinking that way?
Well, to me, it's return of capital and then return of capital. Right?
So their original investment comes back first.
Right.
Okay.
We're all about, again, and I'm going to probably, Troy, who's our analyst and our portfolio manager, he's the numbers guy. He loves the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, sometimes I go, whoa, back down. Okay, we're at this altitude instead of, that. But
you need
know
that.
what? The devil's in the details.
Absolutely.
And again, if we have an investor who loves that, or an investor that says, just tell me, Mike, what's my return? You've adjusted all your risks. You understand that. We feel comfortable with all those. But as far as return of and return on, simply, and then you can chime in.
Sure.
But my theory is first your capital comes in to our fund, and that's what we want to get back to you. Because really the ride and the whole purpose of being in a fund is to get cash on your cash.
Yes.
Right? Because then what happens? We keep multiplying those numbers in factors. Because the longer you stretch out as far as, getting your cash and your capital back, the longer, the loss opportunities you could reinvest it in something else. So I'm all about trying to reinvest capital. Keep making it earn. Keep making it grab it. That investment's earning money, and we're in another deal. So that's, the old, I guess it's Einstein, right? The old Einstein compounded interest. Compound interest, right? Hidden theory is I'm going to put it here and I'm going to wait 30 years to get it back.
Yeah, no.
At 3, 4, 5%, or let it do this. It's like, get my capital back. That income is now earning.
Redeploy.
Yeah, right. Redeploy, but I'm still in an investment that's going to make me money.
Yes.
So two things: return. We're hypersensitive of you give us money, we want to give it back to you as soon as possible,
As quickly as you can.
But you're still in because you're with us and you're going to make that return with us. So that's kind of how we focus on those two things. I guess.
Yeah, no, you nailed it right on the head. I mean, going back to what you were saying, I mean, return on equity is pretty straightforward. It's just, we're, like you said, investor first. We want to make sure that whatever they're bringing to the table, they get back immediately, as fast as we can get it. And so as we look at these opportunities, we're trying to figure out, okay, how quickly can we get them back their money? And then once they're in, like Mike said, join the ride. We're trying to figure out how we can maximize your return based on what you have on your basis for your equity. And then, looking for that exit strategy. So kind of like what Mike was saying is, as we look at these opportunities, we're always forecasting, here's where we start. This is where we anticipate it to go. And then, for our perspective, what's the highest time? What's the best time? What's the best opportunity for us to exit? And getting the maximum return back to the investors. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much answered the question.
And are you analyzing this on a daily, weekly, annual basis? How are you looking at these things, Troy?
Well, that kind of goes into how we model for financing. But just to kind of give you a little bit of a background for me. So my history is, being finance. Short version, I actually, growing up, was not really into math. I was terrible at it. It wasn't until later in life that I found a love and passion for it and actually felt so passionate about it. I ended up getting a master's in finance. But to answer your question, it's a combination of all of it. When we're first looking at the property, right? Well, let's just, whatever opportunity we're looking at, right? Our position as equity is we're looking at deals and then we're vetting those deals. So, to answer your question is when we're looking at those deals, the first thing we do is figure out, okay, well, what's the risk in this, and then what's the potential return? What's the upside? And then from there, we're running our analysis and doing basically what's the immediate return? And then based on what the condition of that asset is, in this case, a lot of times we're going to be looking at value add opportunity. And what does that mean? Just means that there's property that's already income producing, but it's got some issues, whether it's maintenance, whether it's capital, whether it's occupancy, and figuring out how we could, work with the right type of team to maximize those and then maximize the profit. So we start looking at it, you know, in the immediate and then kind of futuristic, what it's going to look like in the next 3, 5, even potentially 10 years. Not that our fund runs that way, but just for the future, where this valuation will end up. And then from there, it's just a check and balance. So we're looking at it, you know, once we've set this is the asset, this is the return, this is what we potentially will do. Once we've acquired it, then it is, you know, okay, I'm going to look on it a day-to-day. I'm going to look on it on a quarterly. And then eventually, once it starts to become more stabilized, and then it's just a spot check. Hey, where are we at? Are we hitting our benchmarks? You know, are we getting close to where we think the exit is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And really, a quick little example of kind of a value add is a building we picked up about 2 years ago in the medical center. I always say, the way you make your money is on the buy side of real estate, always. Because we picked up this building, it was mismanaged. It was basically an owner-occupant building, and we knew they were going to vacate it to 50%. It's a 4-story, 50,000 square foot building, and so we knew we were going to have some vacancy in the deal, but also that being in a medical center, we know, hey, they didn't have a lot of medical use. No. So here are the challenges. 4 stories, it's going to be vacant to about 50%, right? Somewhere around there.
50%.
Right. And one of the things on medical, we looked at, the parking ratio wasn't great. So underpark. Okay, let's solve. It's always problem, and then problems in solving the problems, right? In real estate.
Yeah.
And that's how I remember that 101 real estate. You're as a real estate appraiser, you solve problems, all right? And so, solving a problem, and what's the highest best use? It's like, okay, this building is owner occupant. They're going to vacate. Why? What can we do to make it better? Medical center, location's great, awesome. Visibility's good. Has some issue. We have to, put some lipstick on it.
Sure.
Make it look nice and so forth. So bought the building for $100 a foot.
Oh, wow. Can't build anything for $100. You can't build a little cheap house for $100 a foot.
Yeah, I kind of talked with a broker. We gave some incentives to the broker. Said, please, let us have, take a look at this thing. It was a little bit of a challenge for the negotiations, but we got that under contract. Gave that to Troy. Said, here's what I think we're going to do, and he's like salivating, like, oh yeah, oh my God, this is a home run. Okay. As long as you can get on first base, I always say. On deals, it's not going to be home runs, but I think it's your batting average. As long as you can get on base, it's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, this is what I want.
But let me I'll finish you because it's great. So now we, long story short, we fixed to solve the problem of the parking lot. We have now leasing it up, and we're leasing it up more. And the reason is that everything that you see in the medical center area is at a certain plateau as far as rates.
Yes.
We bought so low, and we've now invested considerable amount of money changing the lobby, making it a medical facility, and now we have acquiring medical tenants in the building, and the rates, we can be $2 under the whole market and knock it out of the park
So you've changed the classification of the building.
Yes, and absolutely. Okay. So that's a value add. We saw something. Absolutely. We knew that there was going to be an issue from an investment standpoint. From anybody else, they're going, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to get the cash flow immediately to make debt service payments. And we're like, okay, well, we can come up with investors and buy cash.
Yeah.
Right? And we can make this deal happen very quick. And the seller goes, I like it. Everybody likes it. We closed it really quick. And here we are. This investment will be making out-of-the-park returns.
Yeah. And I want to keep talking about the returns and distributions. I mean, how does that work? What are you looking at?
As far as that, I'll let Troy handle that one.
Well, before we jump into that, I want to kind of go back to, why that property was a home run, because I really think it kind of emphasizes what we mean by looking at opportunity. Yeah. So the reason we say it's a home run now is because we looked at it and recognized there was an opportunity in it. That property had been sitting in the market for maybe 4 or 5 months. It had just been sitting, and no one had made an offer on it.
No interest.
Right, but we saw it and saw a few things about it that made sense. What Mike mentioned earlier is location.
Location was the opportunity where no one else saw it.
Exactly. Okay. That was the first thing. He said, hey, this is in a good location. It was kind of south of the medical district. It's just south of it, but it wasn't being operated like a medical building. It looked kind of like a medical building, but it had some funky things going on to it. The owner was occupying a middle part of it, and then they turned the fourth floor into like a what do you call it, like a recreational like wedding center.
An event.
Yeah, it was a wedding event.
Wedding event center.
So in its current condition, you're looking at it and going, scratching your head saying, what is this?
Yeah.
And then as we started looking into it, like Mike said, the salivating part for me is, my experience has been, I've been working with Mike for about 10 years, and we're doing property management. We, handle several big properties, but I always kind of think of it as, when you get a blood work done and you get your doctor's labs,
Yes.
you look at it and I don't have any freaking clue what I'm looking at, but their doctor does. And the doctor can tell you if you're sick or you're healthy. Yeah. When we started looking at their financials, we immediately saw this building was sick, but we knew why it was sick. Yeah. We're like, okay, this is mismanaged. And then as Mike mentioned, it's underparked. I mean, when the building is fully occupied, there's not enough room for people to park. Okay. So we kind of saw that. And then going back to the opportunity is, hey, this is not being marketed to its best and highest use. Yeah. So, for our team, we went in there. One, we were able to get it at under what you would find as a replacement cost. Mm-hmm. And then two, with our management, we were able to get in there and start strategizing. I mean, just to give you an example, when we first took over, their operating expenses, just on their AC alone, was $20,000 a month.
Oh my gosh.
$20,000 to run their AC.
In a 50,000 square foot building?
In a 50,000 square foot building, they were running $20,000 a month.
24/7.
Okay.
At 68
That's
degrees.
a problem.
That's crazy, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's going to turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah, so doing that, and then like as Mike mentioned, rebranding, restructuring, and then being able to have our basis so low, we were able to come to the market aggressively on our rent and basically say, hey, new ownership. This is going to be a medical. We want medical, and we're going to position it that way. Okay. And it's been very good. And now, like we said, we stabilized it at 76% occupancy. It's moving up to 100% and medical, and we are just knocking it out of the park. Yeah. And that's the home run.
Yeah.
Being able to
and then also too, we got this guy over here that runs the construction, and you want to know anything about construction, he's done it. I mean. Huge project, so yeah.
No, we have spent our life in this business, and it's interesting when you put groups of people together.
Yeah.
We all want to bring something different, and you don't need partners that are exactly like you. So that I think that lends itself to a good partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.